Welcome to Relocating to Disney. Now, just because you moved to Florida, it doesn't mean it's all theme parks and beaches. There's still household activities that have to be done. There's still house maintenance that has to be done. Now, we bought this house when it was about 11 years old. It's now around 15 years old. And the bathroom sinks are starting to leak. And the handles have, this is a Delta, so the handles have this little gizmo inside of it. And I'll show you how to get at these in just a moment. But these will leak in one of two ways. One, it'll either leak through the handle, or two, it'll leak through the faucet. And depending upon which leak you have, depends upon what you want to fix. So if you're getting water coming out through the handle, then it's this black O-ring right here that needs to be replaced. And if it's leaking through the faucet, then underneath this thing, this sits down on top of a spring with a rubber cap. So what you want to do is first try replacing, depending upon which problem you're having, replacing the O-ring or the spring in the cap, or maybe even both, since you've got it taken apart anyways. And you can replace those for just a couple of dollars. If that doesn't work, if that doesn't fix your problem, then you're looking at replacing the whole thing, and these can run anywhere from $15 to $20. So it's worth trying, save a little money, just replace the O-ring, the spring and the cap, and see if that takes care of your issues. Now for me, it's leaking through the handle, which means it's just the O-ring. But like I said, I'm also gonna replace the spring and the cap because why not? I'm in there anyways. And when I took the spring and the cap out, the cap is rubber, and I rubbed it with my fingers a little bit and my fingers turned black, which means that rubber is just deteriorating. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace that while I'm at it. Let me show you how you get down in here. First thing you do is you shut off the water. You wanna shut it off to both sides. Now let's make sure the water is turned off. Very good, no water came through, so that means it's turned off. Now we've got to get these off, and these will come in one of two ways. Some of them, you'll unscrew this handle, but this, we have a little pinhole, a little hole right here, and you will stick an Allen wrench in there to loosen up that set screw, and then this will lift right off. So here's my Allen wrench, and remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey, and we're just going to put that in there and work it and loosen it up. Okay, now this will just come right off. And this is that cartridge that I showed you just a moment ago. Okay, got the towel around it. Now we're just gonna take this off. Now, these do not have to be on real tight, and hopefully whoever installed this previously did not put it on real tight. They did not, good. This just comes right off. Okay, now this, it might just come out just by using your hands. If not, you can grab a hold of it, a pair of pliers, jiggle it a little bit, and it'll come right out. And there it is. Now you'll notice this is filled with water, and down inside of it is a hole, and that's where the spring and the cap is. So what we want to do is just soak out all that water with the towel. Stick this down in here. And then we'll be able to fish out that spring in the cap, the old spring in the cap. All right. You can see that down in there. So I'm going to use my Allen wrench to go down in there and just fish that out, see if I can catch it on the camera. So inside the cap, pull it up, and there it is, the spring and the cap. So you can get replacement kits for just a couple of bucks at your hardware store. Got this over at Ace. And I like Ace because you take the old part in and they help you find the correct part. Not every place like Lowe's or Home Depot is quite as proficient as I find Ace is. And you know, it's not worth taking an extra trip back to the hardware store just because you got the wrong part. You can see in here, it's a spring, the cap, and then an assortment of O-rings, and my O-ring is in here. So I'm gonna be all set to replace those. So the first thing we've got to do is take this old O-ring off. It's just like a rubber band, and I probably can't do it with one hand. So there it is off. Now it's real easy to get the old ones and the new ones confused. So I'm gonna go set this off to the side so that I don't get it messed up. And you can see my fingers are turning black, and it's just because this is no longer effective. It's deteriorating. Definitely needs to be replaced. Okay, I have the replacement, and I'm just gonna slip that on. When you replace this O-ring, it's a good idea to put a little bit of grease on it. It'll make the O-ring last longer. I'm using some super lube, and you just rub it all over your O-ring before you put it back on the, okay, just got a little bit of that on my finger. And see if I can do this with one hand. Just gonna rub it all over the O-ring. Just gonna rub it all over the O-ring, and there we go. There it is. Next, we're gonna do the spring in the cap. So there's a spring in the cap. You'll notice the spring is narrow on one end, fat on the bottom. So put the narrow end at the top, and then the cap goes right over the top of it. There it is. And what I'll do is I'll put this on the end of my Allen wrench, and then I'll drop it into the hole and then push it down with my finger. Not sure I can do this one-handed and hold the camera, but let's try. So there we have it at the end of the Allen wrench. I'm just gonna hold it with my finger and put the tip of the Allen wrench down into that hole, and then release it so that it goes down into the hole, and I'm gonna press it with my finger as I remove the Allen wrench, and just push it right down in there. There we go, it's in the hole. Now we just have to put everything back together. Remember the orientation. Over here on the side of this brass, or this copper, is a notch, and the notches have to line up. There we go. Now is the nut. Now this nut can be a little bit tricky because it's threaded, but the threadings here start pretty low. So what you have to do is, when you put this on, you have to push down on the cartridge while you push down on the nut and screw it in, and then tighten it up with a pair of pliers. If you don't push down on this, then those threads will never grab, and you'll just be here turning forever. So once that's on, replace this, tighten up the Allen wrench, then go under the sink and turn the water back on, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. All right, that is it for fixing a leaking handle on a faucet here at the Florida house. Thank you for watching.